International human rights body calls for immediate and urgent action to halt movement of children from Ukraine by Russia. Council of Europe says Russian forced deportation of children from Ukraine is genocide. The forced imprisonment and deportation of children from the Ukrainian territory that Russia has annexed has been deemed genocide by the Legislative Assembly of the Council of Europe. With 87 votes in favor, or a resounding majority, a resolution titled Deportations and Forcible Transfers of Ukrainian Children and Other Civilians to the Russian Federation or to Ukrainian Territories Temporarily Occupied, Create Conditions for Their Safe Return, Stop These Crimes, and Punish the Perpetrators, was approved. A representative did not cast a vote, and another chose to abstain. In its resolution, the Assembly called for immediate and urgent action to be taken to halt the practices of unlawful forcible transfer and deportation currently being carried out by the Russian Federation against the Ukrainian population, and especially its policy and practices relating to the removal of children from their families and homes and their subsequent absorption into Russian citizenship, identity, and culture. It added, the Assembly highlights the need for the recording and monitoring of individual cases, both in order to permit mechanisms for rapid redress, and to collect evidence of accountability in order to bring the perpetrators, at all levels of responsibility, to justice. The Assembly called for the practice to stop immediately and unconditionally. It also demanded Russia give access to NGOs and charities, as well as information about where the children now are. Regarding the unlawful deportation of children, the International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant for Vladimir Putin in March. One was also given to Maria Alexeyevna Lvova-Belova, the Commissioner for Children's Rights in Russia, who is thought to have 18 adopted children total, one of whom is a Mariupol teen. The resolution asserts that before its assault on February 24, 2016, Russia started evacuating kids from the Donetsk and Luhansk seized areas. The Ukrainian government said in a report earlier this month that it had gathered information on more than 19,000 children who had been sent abroad. Russia reiterated its strong stance about the use of nuclear weapons, saying that its patience should not be put to the test. Maria Zakharova, a spokeswoman for the Russian Foreign Ministry, stated that while Russia would do everything to prevent the development of events according to the worst scenario, it would not do so at the expense of our essential interests. Vladimir Putin has stated in the past that he hopes to prevent nuclear war, but on Monday, Sergei Lavrov, his foreign minister, said the world was possibly more dangerous than it was during the Cold War. According to the Kremlin, ties with European nations are at their lowest possible level, due to an increase in diplomat expulsions. When questioned about the phone discussion between the leaders of China and Ukraine on Wednesday, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov stated that the Kremlin welcomed anything that could speed the end of the Ukraine conflict. Jens Stoltenberg, the Secretary-General of NATO, also praised the conversation between Presidents Xi and Zelensky and reiterated the likelihood of a negotiating table resolution to the conflict. According to Stoltenberg, Ukraine has now received 98% of the combat vehicles that were promised. This consists of 230 tanks and 1,550 armored vehicles. 9 additional Ukrainian brigades would result from this. The forced imprisonment and deportation of children from the Ukrainian territory that Russia has annexed has been deemed genocide by the Legislative Assembly of the Council of Europe. With 87 votes in favor, or a resounding majority, a resolution titled Deportations and Forcible Transfers of Ukrainian Children and Other Civilians to the Russian Federation or to Ukrainian Territories Temporarily Occupied, Create Conditions for Their Safe Return, Stop These Crimes, and Punish the Perpetrators, was approved. A representative did not cast a vote, and another chose to abstain. According to Russia's Defense Ministry, 4 blocks in Bakhmut's northwestern, western, and southwestern regions have been taken by Russian forces, the country's state-run news agency RI said. The U.S. Embassy requested to meet Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich in prison on May 11. However, Russia's foreign ministry refused the request. According to the statement, the action was made in retaliation for Washington's inability to grant visas to representatives from the journalistic pool. of the Russian Foreign Minister, Sergei Lavrov, for his Monday visit to the UN. Pope Francis has been invited by the Prime Minister of Ukraine, Denis Shmyhal, to travel to Ukraine while he is in Rome. He begged the Pope for assistance in getting youngsters from the east of Ukraine who had been kidnapped against their will to Russia back. Former Ukrainian ambassador to Berlin Andrzej Melnik claimed that Germany was still not offering the necessary support. The Germans are helping much more than they were, and for that we Ukrainians are very grateful, but the government is only delivering as much as it feels it should, he said in an interview with Die Zeit in Kiev. The leader of Russia's Wagner, Yevgeny Prigozhin, has claimed that he was kidding when he announced that the mercenary organization would cease firing in Bakhmut to allow Ukrainian forces on the other side of the battlefield to demonstrate the city to visiting U.S. journalists. According to Ukraine's presidential administration, at least 7 civilians were killed and 33 injured between Wednesday and Thursday. 1 civilian was killed and 23 others injured, including a toddler, when 4 Kalib cruise missiles struck the southern city of Mykolaiv. According to observers, Russia has bolstered its fortifications in anticipation of a much-anticipated counterattack by Ukrainian forces. According to Agence France-Presse, AFP, a gush of manpower has been added to the triple fortified 500 miles, 800 kilometers, of Russian trenches defending the occupied territory of Ukraine. The date coincides with the thawing and drying of the customary winter freeze, increasing the likelihood of mobilization. Britain's opposition Labour Party has asked the government why there has been no new weapons announcement since February and no fresh update from ministers to Parliament since January.